Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Neil Haley Show. You can check me out on Twitter at Total Tutor, Neil S. Haley, Facebook, LinkedIn Neil Haley, Instagram Total Tutor, Pinterest Neil Haley, Google Plus, and also on Periscope at Total Tutor. And I want to thank my great producer over at BPTV Studios, Dave Cable, for giving me a cough drop so I can make it through the next interview. I don't know what happened when it tickled my throat the last interview I did, but I'm excited to welcome the WPIL Hall of Famer, UNLV running web, NCAA tournament coordinator, at WNIT, about 65 titles, just like me, Coach Karen Hall. And Coach, as you see in our studio right now, we have a legend. And, I'm going to say, I didn't think that before till you told me about who we have. Give the title, because that's the thing. College Football Hall of Famer, Heisman Trophy runner-up, to the national championship game against Notre Dame. Go ahead and introduce who we have.
We have the one and the only Major Harris, Pittsburgh native, West Virginia University football star, standout. Welcome to the show, part 2 of Major Harris. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, good to have you here. We're just going to have a lot of fun. Conversation on the phone went great, but we got you in the studio. So we want to jump off right now, Neil, because 30 minutes is quick.
No, it's quick. It's because Major has such great, interesting insights. And when I think about to review people for, this is definitely part 2, just like we had a great one with the legendary Jason Matthews. Let's think about things before we go right into Major, just the background. We talked about his days at Brashear High School. Yep. We talked about why he chose West Virginia over Pitt, because, again, Pitt's program was not looking in the right direction as much as West Virginia. He saw a lot of great opportunities. We talked about how he waited for his chance, being redshirted, and went right into the play. But my question is, that amazing, magical season, think of that magical season. At the beginning of the year, did you think you were going to play for the national championship against Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish? Starting out that year, did you guys think that you had the shot to play for the national championship?
Well, Beano Cook, he predicted us to go undefeated. So that was big. I think the year previous to that, when we played Syracuse up at Syracuse, and basically they beat us on the last play of the game, and they was undefeated, and we knew we had most of our guys coming back. We knew that we had a good chance of doing what Syracuse did the year before.
Definitely. And so, Major, going through that process of the season, you had some big games. What do you think, as a leader, you were able to tell your team, saying, this is our year, guys? What kind of insight did you give your players to say, okay, especially the offense and being a leader that you were, how we can do this? We can make West Virginia look like the powerhouses of some of these great college football teams of yours. What did you kind of advice did you offer or motivation you give your teammates?
Well, I didn't really have to give advice. Everybody knew. When you on a team and you're pretty good, you really don't got to say much. You just go out and do it. And I think that, like I said, the year before, the way we came on strong at the end, everybody knew that we had a good team. And then, like I said, Beano Cook, he seen what was going on, and he predicted us to, go undefeated. So we all knew going into the season that we had a pretty good team. We just didn't want to stumble along the way and lose a game.
So how do you, I understand that, you're pretty good. You got everybody back. The chances of doing some great things are looking pretty good for you. So how do you navigate through that kind of year? Because you all got the look in your eyes, like, and you're shaking your head. We know seasons are going. You're winning games early. How do you navigate through that so you don't stumble?
I think you got to take it one game at a time. And I think a lot of times the way your schedule is set up can help you. Because if you play a powerhouse team and say you beat them, then you face another one, it can be a little tough because you might be dealing with injuries and stuff like that. So I think schedule play a big part in it. And that's why I'm so impressed with the SEC school when they go undefeated like Alabama, because game after game they facing a team that can beat them. Right. And I think our schedule was in our favor. I think another thing was we had a lot of veteran players. Right. Our starting offensive line was all 5 seniors. So when you got 5 linemen that's seniors going up against guys that might be sophomore, juniors, even freshmen, they got that advantage over them. So I think we just had a lot of things in our favor going into that year.
Now your offense. For our listeners out there, tell how the West Virginia offense was run. Again, it's about you got the ball. We didn't know where the ball ended up after you got it. You either going to be throwing it, you would be running the option, all those different things. Explain to them specifically how it was so hard to prepare for you guys.
Well, yeah, because I as an offense, we can do it all.
Right.
You know what I mean? If we want to run an option, and I'm just surprised more teams don't run an option as much. I always say, well, Army, Navy, Air Force, it seemed like they're the smart guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they kept that into their
Exactly.
into their offensive system. Most teams, or I think Georgia Tech run it. It's hard to prepare for an option team because if you try to overload one side, you can run an option to the opposite side. So I'm just surprised more teams got away from it. But as far as our team, I think one thing that really helped us to be a great team is when we got Reggie Rimbert in from junior college, 6'5" wide receiver. I think he was a guy that they had to really focus on a lot because of his size and speed.
So at that time, like that kind of size wasn't like it is today. Like that was sort of the unusual. Would you say like having that kind of size on your team?
Yeah, it definitely. You really didn't run into it that much back then, but now I mean that's commonplace. A guy 6'5" that can run. So when we added him on the team, we already had decent receivers and we had some great backs. But he really put our receiving core over the top because, in a sense, I guess what they say now, he could take the top off of defense.
Okay, got it.
So then they decide 9 men in the box, 10 men in the box, then you got them, right? Because you're looking to try, they think you're going to run, and then you just throw it.
Well, Reggie made that difference because if without Reggie, they probably can do that. But with Reggie, you know what I mean? Now you got to kind of play a little bit more honest because, like I was just saying, he's a guy that can take the top off of defense.
Exactly.
So he kept them honest because, like, whenever we see him cheating down, then we're audible to something, take them deep with him.
But not only him, but there you are. You're in the pocket. You're strong, you can pass, and you're mobile. So you have a receiver who's a force, and then you have a quarterback that they, like, okay, what is he going to do? I mean, so there's a lot of tangibles that you guys are arming yourself with coming into games that other teams have to prepare for.
Definitely. I think the scrambling part definitely made it tough on the defense because a lot of times, it's funny, I remember even my days at Bashir, they used to have a scheme where we'll rush but not pressuring. So they'll rush and they'll just play off of me dropping back. But when they did that to me, that's giving me more time to throw the ball. Right. So then when I see them coming hard, then I know, okay, now they really rushing. So now that's when I would like scramble a little bit more. So I'll be honest, I used to play a game within a game based on what the defense was doing.
Now, respecting you as a thrower, how long did it take for finally to say, okay, you can throw the ball as well? Because, the connotation of the black quarterback at that time is, they're just a runner. They're athletes. They're not going to be able to throw and be a traditional thrower. How did you kind of change that feeling and thought process about you?
Well, I never really let it get to me. I didn't care if they didn't think I could throw because if I was put in a situation that I got to throw the ball, I just had to prove them wrong. You know what I mean? So a lot of times, I think, I'll be honest with black quarterbacks, when they hear different things that, in a sense, it frustrates them, then they try to prove them wrong and it throws them off their game. I never let it bother me. Like I said, I always was looking at it as a game within a game. You hear some quarterbacks, I guess, RG3, where he want to be a pocket passer. Right. To be honest, he should just be RG3.
Yes,
run,
exactly.
You know what I mean? Do whatever it takes to win.
Skill set.
So he got away from that, and I think it threw him off his game.
I wish RG3 would head to Denver, not Dallas. Because Denver would play that system right with him. Because they would say, we'll run, but we'll let you do your thing, and you don't have to make mistakes. He needs to go with a team that's not going to let him win it completely and then can dominate at times as well. Because when you put all the emphasis on you got to be a traditional drop back passer, I think defending you is a much more difficult thing. Because guess what? You just never knew. I remember West Virginia football all the time. It's just literally you're at like the 10-yard line. You've been running the ball all the time, and then bam, you hit us with a 90-yard big play. Or you scramble, and it looks like you're going somewhere, and there's Major. He's gone. That's what happens. Oh, we got him. Right, we got him in the pocket. You're gone. That's so much harder to defend in coaching in the film room, right? When you agree that you could decide I'm just going drop back, play action fake, deep all the way down, or I'm going to scramble, and you don't know where the play is going to end up at the end.
Well, yeah, when you look at it, I mean, because teams got film on you.
Right.
So I always knew, well, the team got film on us. They know what we do. Really, like I think I mentioned last time, Penn State just lined up and got to stop us. Nobody can stop them. So I always looked at it, like I said, a game within a game. So a lot of times when we have a play, I drop back, the guy might be covered, then I might go into a scramble mode. So now going into the scramble mode, that's something they couldn't prepare for. Now then the next play, I go, okay, I'm throwing to this receiver, so I'm throwing to it. So I'm keeping the defense all balanced by playing the game within the game.
Right. So my thing is, to me, the intensity of your throws, that's like the shooter in basketball to me, just a prolific scorer. How do you develop that? Is that a natural development of your arm, the rotation? Is that something that they taught? How that strength, that power as a quarterback?
A lot of times it's body position in the pocket.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like if you turn from one side to the other, you got to turn your body. Got to be. A lot of the great quarterbacks, they just had that naturally. Okay. Some guys, they got to develop it.
Okay.
And it's just basically just knowing where you at in the pocket and how to turn and different things like that. And I think more, I guess, quarterback coaches is getting to that point where they try to mold guys. And you even see it in the combines where they run by the guy and hit the guy on the shoulder or something like that because they're trying to get them pocket awareness.
Now, thinking about the West Virginia fans, which is a Pitt fan, it's amazing playing West Virginia, isn't it? I mean, just the fans and how crazy they are about Mountaineer football.
Well, definitely, being that we don't got a NFL team, you know what I mean?
You're like a rock star at that time.
Yeah, to be honest. And I think, to be honest, like even when we go back, like former players, we go back, we go back, I'm gonna be honest, like kind of like a rock star. Whereas with Pitt players, they come back, but they competing with Stillers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a little different. But where if you got a Pitt player that go on to play for the Stillers now, you a big time rock star then. You know what I mean?
But so like, what would you say the crowd atmosphere at West Virginia games? How crazy it was, and just the way that you had that home field advantage, definitely every game with how your fans and how raucous they are and so loyal in a way for their team.
Well, one thing I will say, when I played, it was really hard to grasp that because you playing. After the game, you're in the locker room getting ready to go home. But then when I went back to school to finish up and I was on campus as a student, I got to experience that tailgating and things like that when they went undefeated in '94. And I ain't gonna lie, I had a ball and I was excited the night before the game to go tailgate, to watch the game, and I never really understood that until I went back to school and actually was a student and went to the game. I had just as much fun, tailgating and stuff like that, hanging out before the games and things like that as when I played.
You have an entire state, West Virginia, that just loves you. And then that's the interesting thing when you get that after the College Football Hall of Fame and all that stuff. So when we get back, more Neil Haley show with College Football Hall of Famer and Heisman Trophy runner-up, West Virginia legend, Major Harris. I'm with Coach Karen Hall. You're watching the Neil Haley show, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Varsity cheerleaders at Bethel Park High School, and we have a special invitation for you.
We would like you to join us for the Bethel Park Cheerleaders and Boosters 26th Annual Spring Fashion Show that benefits Special Olympics Allegheny County.
This year's Starry Night theme show will be held on Sunday, April 3rd, 2016 at Independence Middle School's auditorium. The doors will open at noon.
Tickets are $5 for adults and $3 for students. Due to the incredible support of the community for this annual event, all organizers and participants are volunteers, enabling all proceeds to go directly to this very worthwhile charity.
Last year, the fashion show culminated in a donation of more than $8,000, raising the BPCBA's total donation from the past 2 decades to more than $177,100.
Your support on behalf of this very important cause will help to raise money to enrich the lives of Special Olympic athletes throughout Allegheny County.
Through your support, these very special athletes will be given opportunities to train in 14 different sports and compete in 22 tournaments throughout the year.
Each year, we invite an ambassador to participate in this exciting charitable event. This year, we have 2 special guests.
We are pleased to introduce our 2016 Special Olympic athletes. Here is Andy and Ellie. Both Andy and Ellie live in Bethel Park and are a part of our community and schools.
They always had wonderful afternoon planned with fashions and many local retailers. Please come to our fashion show and watch us. Please support Special Olympics of Allegheny County and my fellow athletes.
There's also a fabulous basket auction and light refreshments. Our primary source of fundraising comes from the basket auction segment of the show, where the baskets are comprised of items donated by local businesses.
We hope to see you at the 26th Annual Bethel Park Cheerleaders and Boosters Fashion Show benefiting Special Olympics Allegheny County on Sunday, April 3rd, commencing at 1 p.m. at Independence Middle School. For tickets, please see any Bethel Park cheerleader or call 412-292-4013.
Please support Special Olympics.
Come see us. Go Hawks!
Back to the Neil Haley Show, and I was a fan of Major Harris. I was a fan of West Virginia, and that team. For some reason, Pitt was terrible that year, right? I think they weren't that good. So in the year that you guys went to the national championship, they were okay. They were not the program as was dropping, but it was exciting to that year for Pittsburgh to take on that West Virginia. Cheering for West Virginia, because anytime you get to that point of a national championship game, how Pittsburgh was buzzing about West Virginia as well. Wouldn't you agree, Major?
Yeah, I think one thing, you got a lot of guys from the Pittsburgh and the surrounding area that went to West Virginia. So I think more people from Pittsburgh begin to like, oh, okay, yeah, well, West Virginia, that's a pretty good team and probably can root for them if they ain't playing Pitt or Penn State. So that's the one thing that I really seen. And to be honest, driving around up in Pittsburgh now, I see a lot of flying WV, stickers everywhere.
Well, I mean, you're a native, so did you have any guys from Brashear come down to WVU during your time? Did you play with any of your high school teammates down there?
Well, Milton Redwine.
Yeah.
He went to Brashear. He went to Miami first and transferred to West Virginia. He was the first. Then, I ended up, coming after him. Mike Booth.
Yeah.
Rasheed Marshall. We had a lot of guys from West Virginia. I mean, from Pittsburgh, Brashear, and from the City League that go on and play down West Virginia.
Were any of those guys on the same team during your era with you?
Yeah, Mike Booth. He was a little younger than me. But yeah, he was there when I was there. Matter of fact, Booth was there my junior year, but he wasn't there for the national championship game. But then when I went back to finish up, he was there when they was undefeated.
Now, did you have your little rowdy section from Pittsburgh? I mean, Neil's talking about these fans down at WVU. You're a Pittsburgh guy. It's just an hour drive down 79, I believe it is. So did you have your little section, Major Harris signs up there?
Well, I guess my family, you know what I mean? But when you play, you really ain't getting caught up in that. Now, maybe if I seen highlights, oh, man, I got people up in the stands with a picture or something like that. That's something different. But when you actually playing, you really don't get caught up in, who's up in the stands and what kind of signs they got and stuff like that.
But you had support. You had support coming from Pittsburgh to
I would say, yeah.
Good.
So also, Major, thinking about leading up to the national championship game, you guys you had to look at rankings every week, right? Because again, the way it would work is basically to play in that night, there's no playoff at that time. So you have to hope you're either 1 or 2 going into the national championship game. So that's the challenge. Stay undefeated and make sure that you don't drop in the polls, right? Because at times those other bigger schools, meaning in the SEC or whoever's really, really good, could with even one loss, drop you out of the national championship game. Was that something you guys were thinking about during the year? Or
that definitely played a part in it. But I think going into the year, we was a top 10 team anyway. Right. So we knew if we did our part that, in a sense, we might be there. You know what I mean? Or we'd be close. And you're right, though, with the playoff system now, it's a little bit different. But you're right, you can start off the 20th overall team, go undefeated, and still be shut out. You know what I mean? But we started out, I think, as a top 10 team. And, you know what I mean, as the season went on, we just kept moving up.
And getting the opportunity, that game, preparation, you're in the national championship game. Take us back to that, I guess, that day and the whole process of the preparation and practice for that week leading into playing Notre Dame?
You know, the thing about it, you try not to get caught up in it. You try to treat it like another game, even though it's not. And, I mean, it's, you know, I remember we were staying in a hotel, then they had to move us out of the hotel because, you know, there was so many parties going on that week, you know what I mean, the game. You know, looking back on it, I'll be honest, it was almost like a blur. I remember running out before the game, and then I think I must have got knocked out. I don't remember nothing else.
I doubt it with the way you scrambled back there. I doubt it. I mean, but to think of it, I mean, here you are years later to be able to talk about a national championship. Not many athletes in our sports get that opportunity. What is that like to you now?
Being a runner-up national.
Well, you can appreciate it more years later when you look back on it. Like, man, we played for the national championship. Man, I was up for the Heisman. You know, things like that. But when you're going through it, it's just almost like the next stepping stone. It's like that's not your ultimate goal. So you stepping, but you continue to step, and you can't appreciate it as much. It's like running track when you're on the last leg. You ain't thinking about you know what I mean? The finish line.
Right.
But then once you finish and you look back on it, like, man, I did this and did that. So it's hard to appreciate it when you're going through it. But then when it's over and you look back on it, you can appreciate it more.
The game, I don't want you to take you back to that because you have to remind me about what was did you guys have a shot at this game? What was the final score? I forgot about it against Notre Dame.
I think they beat us like 31 or 34 to 21. When that happened, we got and no excuse, you know, I got to give them the credit. They beat us, you know what I mean? We got a lot of guys hurt early in the game. You know, I even got hurt. But not taking that away from them, even if we didn't get hurt, they probably still would have beat us. But they had a good team, and I got to give them credit. They were good.
Who were the stars on Notre Dame at that time that we can remember?
Rocket Ismail. It was so many of them. A lot of them went pro. Ricky Waters. Tony Rice.
Wow, those are heavy
names. They had
a really good team.
Yeah, well,
and
you know,
Lou Holtz is the coach. Yeah, so there you go. You have legendary.
Yeah, definitely.
Speaking of legendary Coach Holtz, I mean, so you're playing in the national championship. You're playing Notre Dame. The aura just behind Coach Holtz alone. I mean, to be able to have, they beat you, unfortunately, but you played against a legendary coach. Just like it seemed like Joe Paterno. You played for these coaches who were bigger than life's bread on their own campuses and nationwide. What was that like to be able to compete against his teams?
Well, you know, one thing I always say when I bring up, like, I guess monumental moments in my career.
Okay.
As far as coaching, Coach Paterno come to mind first because, you know, all-time winningest coach in college football. Somebody being from Pittsburgh used to, you know, watch him on TV all the time. And, to me, he was the best that ever did it. You know, then you have a guy like Lou Holtz. You know, I heard a little bit about it, but didn't know too much about him until the season went on. We knew he was going to play Notre Dame. He was a great coach. And I always say, I always looked at it, a coach that I can feel his presence out on the field, to me, is a good coach.
Okay.
Frank Beamer was like that at Virginia Tech, where you got some coaches where you can just sense that what they trying to do to stop you out on the field, you know what I mean? And that's how I kind of look at a great coach, where you can actually feel their presence out on the field.
Nice.
So another major thing that year, major, is the Heisman Trophy, getting to be the runner-up. To explain to specifically once you knew that you were one of the finalists, and to be able to go to New York City and be a part of that process.
Well, you know, as the season go on, you know, you up for the Heisman. I remember our athletic department, they had postcards they were sending out to all the voters, you know, the guys who got the votes and stuff like that. So as the season wound down, they started to wind down on, you know, who's in the top 5 or what have you. So when they told me that I was going to get invited, you know, I was excited, you know what I mean, especially my sophomore year. Now, here it is, we playing for the national championship, and I'm getting invited up to the Heisman. So, you know, I was kind of pumped up about it. But once you get up there, they kind of cater towards the guy who, you know, they know who's going to win. Well, everybody knew Barry Sanders was going to win it that year, I'll be honest with you. I mean, he had a great season. I think the Heisman nowadays is kind of getting away from what it used to be. Now it's like who's hot late in the year. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Whereas before, it went over the whole season. You know what I mean?
Best player.
You know, yeah. Now it's like guys get hot late in the year or undefeated. Next thing you know, they the front runner. It was a guy for, I want to say, LSU last year, the running back. He started out first 4 or 5 games, 200 yards rushing, and then he wasn't even a finalist for it. And, you know, he still had a great year. So it's kind of getting away from what it used to be. So I really don't know what to say about that.
And the Downtown Athletic Club and that experience is something that is unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. You know what I mean? It's definitely something, when I look back on my career, it was a highlight. You know what I mean? National championship, up for the Heisman, you know, getting inducted in the Hall of Fame. That was probably the 3 biggest things, and the Playboy All-American thing, you know, being a Playboy. That was probably the 4 biggest highlights in my career.
So after the Heisman, how close was that College Hall of Fame invitation or voting?
Well, it was years later. Okay. You know, I'll be honest, when they called me about I got inducted, I was surprised because I always thought that most guys that get inducted in College Football Hall of Fame, they probably had a decent pro career. You know what I mean? And I really didn't have that. So when it was a sweeter reward for me because, you know, I really, after my college days, I really ain't do nothing, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. So do you have a bust of Major Harris in there?
Oh, no. Well, you get a well, I think down at the
College Hall of Fame, Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I think they have something.
Right.
You know, I think I've seen him. I thought I was Godzilla, like Godzilla. No, but I think you do have a little like statue or something like that.
Good. Excellent. Excellent.
Awesome. Well, I mean, in that experience, so you get the call, and how many people in the College Football Hall of Fame from West Virginia?
Well, we got a couple. You know, I think we definitely got a couple. We got a couple guys, I think, up for it again. Well, matter of fact, the last guy was Darryl Talley. He just got inducted. You know what I mean? Because they called me and I went down when he got inducted and everything. So, you know, I think as a football program, I think we're coming on lately as far as, you know, with players like it's going to pros and guys getting recognition of being even nominated for the Hall of Fame. So that's
fantastic.
Good.
And so you make it to West Virginia games a few times a year, don't you?
Yeah, I try to make it to all the big games.
All the big games.
Yeah.
So time is getting close, but what about coaching? I know you did a little bit of coaching. You got all this football knowledge over here.
Yeah.
And any thoughts of coaching in the future?
Well, I'll be honest, growing up, my goal was always to play football or play basketball. I never seen myself getting old. You know what I mean? Then when you get older, it's like you go through a transition period of what you want to do next. My big thing now is fantasy football and golfing. That's my big thing now.
Okay, that's all right.
Okay,
good.
well, again, that was Major Harris, and thank you again for coming here, and that was awesome.
Good job, thank you.
Exactly, and questions or comments, you can tweet me at Total Tutor with things about Major Harris. I know the West Virginia, we'll get that out there to the West Virginia alums for sure, and Major, tremendous story, tremendous what you were able to do, and you still always beat a Mountaineer, I'm sure, for your West Virginia. And every time you go back, for sure, people remember those experiences and those unbelievable games, for sure.
He'll be the rock star on campus.
No.
He is the rock star.
He is the rock star.
And probably, I remember those Pitt games were just, Major's gone. It's just that his Pitt tries to get him, and that's it. So thanks again for watching the Neil Haley Show. You can check me out at Total Tutor, Neil S. Haley, Facebook, LinkedIn, Neil Haley, Instagram, Total Tutor, Pinterest, Neil Haley, Google+. All the different places, and hope to have big announcements very, very soon. And who knows who Coach Hall's bringing back next. You just never know. So you stay tuned. All my different social media outlets. So take care, guys, and we'll see you next week.